If you want to improve your conversion rates, you're going to have to understand the mind of the shopper. And if you want to understand the mind of a shopper, you need to understand how the shopper's brain is. And in order to understand the shopper's brain, I can think of one simple model that I think really simplifies our understanding. And I think that's is system 1 and system 2. So think of the brain as being broken into two sections, system 1 and system 2. System 1 is impulsive and it's very fast. System 2 is slow and it's methodical. And really, when you think about it from the perspective of a shopper, they are always trying to activate system 2 because system 2 is really what helps you kind of see the world for how it is. System 1 is how the world is, how you see, the way you see the world from the perspective of what your aspirations are. And so it's because system 1 is emotional, it allows us as marketers to really kind of influence the shopper. Whereas with system 2, it's really hard to influence them because it's really about facts and figures. And I've thought a lot about what is a simpler way of explaining system 1 and system 2. And it's really hard. And this morning as I was walking, I had an idea. And I was like, wait a minute, I just figured out a simple way of explaining system 1 and system 2. So I wanted to share it with you. Think of system 1 as your finance department and think of system 2 as your accounting department. So system 2 looks at the world in a black and white way, just like an accountant does. And finance is all about what is the future implication of an investment today. And that's exactly what system 1 is always focused on. And again, this is not a perfect analogy because really system 1 does not look into the future, but I think the way system 1 makes decisions is more akin to a finance person versus an accountant. So let's understand what is the difference between what is the difference between finance and accounting. So if you were to open a new retail store, let's say that you knew that Santa Monica is a growing market and you want to open a retail store. You're going to have to spend a lot of money to open a retail store. You're going to have to spend a lot of money to get licenses. You're going to have to spend a lot of money to train people. And it's going to take at least a year before which the store is kind of getting the right kind of foot traffic. You've worked out all the kinks, you've trained your staff, all of that good stuff. Now, from an accounting perspective, that is a black hole. So an accountant would simply look at your finances and say, look, you've spent 1 year on this location in Santa Monica. It's, this is the rent. This is how much we're paying for training. And they're looking at it purely from a cost perspective, and you will get one vision. However, the finance department will look at it differently. They will look at the growth of the demographics in the Santa Monica area. They will look at the trend lines for foot traffic. They will look at trend lines for returns. They will look at word of mouth. They look at all of these other metrics that kind of give you an idea about the future, and they might potentially draw a totally different conclusion. So that's how you should kind of think about system 1 and system 2. So these are two different parts of the brain. And hopefully this analogy has given you a better insight into how system 1 makes decisions versus how system 2 makes decisions. If you have any questions, write comments below and I'll be happy to answer them.